My name is Thomas M. I was in the Marine Corps Infantry. I was a mortarman by trade, and I served with Weapons 123, the reserve unit out of Austin, Texas. I guess what made me join the military, ever since I was a little kid, I mean, who doesn't want to play with machine guns and rocket launchers, things like that? And I guess when I turned 18, I still wanted to do that. I've always been infatuated with airplanes, but I felt the need to enlist before I went and became an officer. And my parents wanted me to go to school first and then go in the military afterward. And so we settled on the reserves when I was a freshman in college. After a couple of years, in 2010, we got our orders to get activated and deployed it. So during the workup, I was a forward observer for the mortars. Switched from weapons company to Bravo company. And then from there, we finished our workup, and then in February 2011, we left for Afghanistan. Our biggest threat was IEDs at the time, especially because we were going to be doing a lot of foot patrols, things like that. And we go to the IED training with the EOD techs. And we get there, and they give us these 10-foot pieces of bamboo with a metal hook on the end of it. And it's screwed in with some duct tape wrapped around it. And we were like, well, what are these for? And they're like, well, that's how if you think there's an IED on the ground, that's how you check to see if there's one there. And we were like, you gotta be joking. And at the 2011, pressure plates were the main source of IED. It was low metallic pressure plates. Well, with the sickles, it gives you enough standoff distance to where if it's a 7 to 10 pound IED or anti-personnel, you can scratch the surface and try to pop up the pressure plate, and then you can call EOD to come blow it up. And if you do detonate it, it won't kill you, it won't blow any limbs off, unless it's a big IED. When we get there, when we were taking over for a sniper platoon that was there. So they were telling us about our experiences, and you do what's called a RIP when you get there, and you spend about a week with the guys that you're taking over from. And so they took us out on our first foot patrols, which were pretty nerve-wracking, to be honest, because you're trained for the 6 months before you go over there. When you're on a patrol, step in the footsteps of the guy in front of you. Well, it's easier said than done. About 2 weeks in, actually, was our big scare. It was right when it was right after the snipers had left, and our radio operator, Mikish, was actually right in front of me. And when I say right in front, he was about 10 to 15 meters in front for the dispersion. And he tripped. And he didn't fall, but he tripped over something. He turned around and he's looking at the ground. And we're in a farm, it's an old farm field. I don't know, like, hey, I was like, Mikish, what's wrong? He's like, oh, I tripped on a wire or something. I was like, oh, maybe you want to get away from it, we're in a farm field, there shouldn't be wires out here. He backs off, I readied it up to the squad leader, to halt the patrol. I go up and look, and there's a little berm on the side, and it was like a brown piece of kite string. It was tied off to a shrub brush on one end, and then it was tied around this piece of white cord that was pulled out of the berm. And so I was like, okay, that's definitely an IED. So I call up the squad leader, he comes and checks it out. We hit it with the metal detector, and it just went, it lit up. I mean, there's something big, metallic in the ground right there. And so we get EOD out there, they back us all off, they go in there and dig it up and see what it is. And it was a DFC, which is a directional fragmentation charge. So it's basically a claymore. It's homemade. Packed with 20 pounds of homemade explosive, and then there was just like ball bearings, shell casings, rocks, razor blades, all that stuff packed on top of it. And it was actually facing down the berm towards where I was, where our corpsman was. And what had happened was a little piece of dirt. It was a loop switch, which what they do is they take 2 pieces of like lamp cord, they shear off the ends of them, and then they wrap the wires around each other, and then so that way when it pulls and connects, then that gives the detonation and it goes off. Well, a little piece of dirt got caught between those 2 pieces of wire, and that's what kept Mikish alive, kept me alive, kept our corpsman from being seriously injured. But we did have some trucks over there. They're called MAPVs, which they're the mine-resistant anti-personnel all-terrain vehicles. If anybody's ever seen one in person, they're really awesome. They're huge. It's basically a Humvee on steroids. It's got more room on the inside. It's jacked up with a V-shaped hole, the turret on top. They were awesome to drive around there, though. They were a little bit lighter, so they had more power, but they couldn't handle a blast as well as an MRAP could. And then whenever we do a vehicle patrol, we had at the front, which was an MRAP, and then it would push a mine roller. A mine roller, if anybody's ever seen one, it's basically a trailer that's on the front of the truck, loaded down with weights, and has wheels all across the front of it. And so those are used, that way when you're driving, if there's a an IED on the road, the truck will roll over it and, in theory, detonate the IED and everyone will be okay. And so then they just started burying IEDs in ruts. And then so it was in the rut, the mine roller would just go over without hitting it, and the truck would hit the IED. And we actually got a call. There was a phone call from a civilian that they said there's an IED down at this Y section of road that we were up, that was in our AO. And so we linked up with the EOD and went out there to go investigate it. And we're driving, and we're about 300 yards from where that intersection even starts. And I mean, I'm driving. I was the third vehicle. There was the truck in front, which was the EOD truck, and then our MRAP with the mine roller. All of a sudden, I just see this big cloud of dust, and you see this wheel just go flying. And it was surreal, is what it was. And then you hear the blast. But it was almost just like watching it on TV or in a movie, you know, and at first you're shocked. And everyone was okay. A couple of concussions, TBIs, but no one was severely injured because the trucks that we have are, you know, they're built to withstand that kind of stuff. All right, so after 7 months over there, we got, you know, we got trucked back up to Dwyer, Camp Dwyer, and we were there just for a couple days. And then we went to the hangar bay to fly out. Well, this plane had to fly to Kandahar first to go refuel. Well, the most vivid thing is when we landed in Kyrgyzstan, you know, they dropped that rear door, the rear hatch, and we walk out, and just the first breath you take, it was just so fresh, you know. I mean, it was that mountain air, you know, you're coming from a dirt hole, you know, literally dirt is just everywhere, and just how fresh the air was, and you know, it's just kind of like the last 7 months didn't even happen. Went back to Pendleton. We were there for about 10 days, and then they flew us back to Austin. Well, we land in Austin, we get off the planes, roll the stairs up, and then there's some charter buses out there. Well, there's the row like that, Patriot Riders, but they were there, and you know, they had all of their Harleys and the flags, you know, I mean, it sent chills down your arms, you know. And so we had 3 buses, and so the Patriot Riders were leading us, you know, back, and we had a police escort back to Camp Mabry. Police, they shut down the entire freeway. I've never seen 360 empty. Never seen Mopac empty. And you knew what was going on. I mean, there were guys out there, you know, waving at us and giving us a thumbs up, getting out of their cars, you know, clapping. It was just really it was cool.